Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Luminox Navy Seal reference XS.4231.SET. This watch is available from eu.luminox.com for €695. Luminox have a rich brand heritage. They were founded in 1989 in Switzerland, and from 1992 they began supplying the United States Navy SEALs. So Luminox have supplied the US Navy SEALs from 1992 to the present day. Their watches feature LLT. LLT stands for Luminox Light Technology, and what that means is their watches use tritium tubes as an alternative to Superlume Nova on the lume pip, the dial and the hands. So this Navy SEAL piece features 16 LLT tubes, which are tritium tubes. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in this black plastic pelican style case. On the top of the hinge lid we have the Luminox shield emblem and Swiss made, and on the front we have the same again. This confirms that Luminox watches are indeed made in Switzerland. Plastic clips securing the top of the hinge lid, and in the underside of the hinge lid we have a foam protective panel with the Luminox shield emblem. In the base we have a second block of foam with 3 cutouts. Left hand cutout houses the fabric strap and warranty card. Centre cutout houses a profile piece of foam which the watch sits on. Right hand cutout houses the spring bar tool which is included. So the watch sits in the base on this profile piece of foam, which is a snug fit in the base block of foam, and it does a good job of protecting the watch in shipping from any damage. So good presentation. I like this black plastic pelican style case, very aesthetically pleasing and good quality. With regards to the items that come with the piece, this is the warranty card. In the lower right corner we've got a QR code you can scan with your Android or iPhone. That will activate the 2-year international warranty and also download the owner's instruction manual. This is a credible alternative to using a printed booklet with clear concise diagrams and instructions in English detailing the operation of the movement used, which is the Ronda caliber 715 Li quartz. So on the reverse there's space to fill in the serial number, reference number and date of purchase. There's also the reference number and the barcode of the piece, and the contacts for Luminox's socials. So I want to give due credit to Luminox here, because often mid-tier brands only cover their watches with 12-month international warranties, but this has a 2-year international warranty, which is good, and I want to give credit to Luminox for that. At €695 it is good to see a 2-year international warranty. One also gets this cardboard envelope which contains the spring bar tool. So this is made from mild steel, which is nickel plated to give the appearance of stainless steel, but it's not solid stainless steel, which is a disappointment, and I'm going to be critical of it. Nailed shank is well finished, and we've got a 2-prong fork at one end, and at the other end a push pin as one would expect. This is useful for exchanging the rubber strap fitted to the head of the piece for the alternative fabric strap, because it uses standard spring bars rather than quick release spring bars. At this price point in the mid-tier, €695, I would prefer to see Luminox using a solid stainless steel spring bar tool, because the problem with a mild steel spring bar tool nickel plated like this is with wear and tear the nickel plating wears off and then the base metal is revealed, mild steel, and the mild steel corrodes and rusts. With a solid stainless steel spring bar tool, corrosion isn't an issue and therefore it's higher quality. So I'd like to see Luminox upgrade this to a solid stainless steel spring bar tool rather than mild steel, which is nickel plated, to look like it. One also gets this rubber tag which has the Luminox shield embossed in 3D. On the reverse it has the reference number for the piece, XS.4231, which is the Navy Seal, and the barcode for the piece. And lastly, as an alternative to the natural rubber strap that comes fitted to the head of the piece, one also gets this fabric strap. So on one side of it we've got the Luminox shield emblem embossed, and on the other side we have the US Navy SEALs emblem embossed. So very nice presentation, very nice attention to detail. So it's a Velcro strap which is fabric and it's made from nylon. The underside has a mesh ventilated fabric to it, and it's also padded with foam, so it feels rather like the straps on a rucksack. That's exactly how it looks and feels. It's got that same mesh ventilated fabric to it, and also the padding. It feels just like a strap on a rucksack. Stitching is very good, no loose stitches around the perimeter, and good attention to detail with regards to the finishing, because we've got this PU leather, or alternatively vinyl, tip to the end of the strap, and this prevents the Velcro strap fraying with daily wear and tear, and it's double stitched around the perimeter, which is good. No loose stitches, quality of the stitching is good, and this is very good because it engages very well, it's stiff, with the stainless steel keeper. So the keeper has a nice heavy gauge to it, solid 316L grade stainless steel, brushed satin finish, no sharp edges, doesn't have sharp corners. I like the gauge of it and I like the size of it. And on the underside it has stainless steel engraved, which confirms that it's solid stainless steel. And what they've done is they've IP coated it black. So this is very good. The quality of the IP coating is very good, and I'm confident it's going to last for a long length of time, as opposed to using black PVD coating, which would have been less expensive. Double stitching on the end of the fabric strap, securing the keeper to it. So again, it's well finished, and I like the fabric around the edge of it because this prevents the edge of the Velcro strap fraying. So the quality of the finishing, the stitching is good on the top side and the underside, Velcro on the top side, and then we've got this perforated fabric which is ventilated on the underside and padded with foam. So although it's thick, it does feel very soft and supple. Now in terms of sizing, this will fit from a minimum 6-inch wrist size up to a maximum 9-inch wrist size. So it will fit around a wetsuit if you use the watch for sea diving, which is its intended purpose. And I like the attention to detail with the Luminox shield in rubber on one side and the new US Navy SEAL shield on the other side. It does fit the aesthetic of this being the Navy SEAL. So good quality Velcro strap, plenty of length on it. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 45mm case diameter, we have a lug-to-lug measurement of 52mm, a thickness of 13.6mm and a lug width of 23mm. The natural rubber strap is straight and parallel, it doesn't taper, so it's 23mm at the lugs and 23mm at the buckle and tang. Double tangs to the buckle, as you can see, so it's very secure. The use of double tangs rather than a single tang on the buckle keeps the strap very secure inside the buckle. The buckle is solid 316L grade stainless steel, signed with a Luminox shield emblem with high definition engraving. Nice heavy gauge to it, angular profile, it's been deburred and chamfered very well. Beautiful luster to the 316L grade stainless steel, brushed satin finishing, and then it's IP coated in black to a very good standard. And again, I want to give credit to Luminox for not using black PVD coating or DLC coating. IP coating is better, it's more robust and harder wearing, so correct choice, although more expensive in terms of production cost. I like the use of the double keepers because this is a wide strap at 23mm, it does keep it secure. We have a flat sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the flat sapphire crystal. Textured black dial, which looks like it's dark grey or anthracite, although it is actually black, but it's light black because it's got a textured finish, a slight satin sheen to it rather than being pure matte black. The textured finish is good because it refracts the light rather than reflecting it as per a glossy enamel black dial. I like the use of the double indices on the dial, double Arabic numerals. We've got large white Arabic numerals for the 12 hours, which are clearly legible, but we've also got smaller 24-hour red Arabic numerals, which contrast very well. Just the right amount of information because it simply says Navy SEAL and 200 meters. Just bear with me and I'll move the pencil minute hand out of the way so you can see it better. And it's subtle because they've printed the text at the 6 o'clock position in grey, so it blends with a textured dial, which does look like a military issue piece, which isn't reflective. So Navy SEALs and then 200 meters, just the right amount of information. And either side of the 6 o'clock index and 6 Arabic numeral, we simply have Swiss made because the piece is Swiss made. And then to the right of the 5 o'clock Arabic numeral, it says T25, which denotes that this uses tritium in the tubes, which are called LLT. Luminox light technology. So we have 16 tubes, one tube in the bezel as an alternative to a Lume pip, 2 tritium tubes on the hour and minute hand and also the second hand, and then we also have 12 tritium tubes around the indices. So that's excellent, 16 tritium tubes used on this piece in total. The bezel is solid 316L grade stainless steel. It's scalloped, and in between the scallops, it's got knurled profiling to it, which adds to it being more grippy and tactile. So this means, for example, if you're wearing a wetsuit and gloves, and the gloves are wet, you can get good purchase on the scalloped bezel because of these textured knurled teeth, as you can see. So it's a low profile bezel, and I like the way the flat sapphire crystal just projects above the top edge of it with a nice edge to it, a nice bevel to the edge of the flat sapphire crystal, but the bezel itself is flat, it's not domed, but the scallops are deep and they've infilled the scallops with these textured knurled teeth and they add to it being grippy and tactile. So let's test the bezel execution. Now, it may come as a surprise to you, this is a 60 click unidirectional bezel rather than the industry standard 120 click. So to clarify, original dive pieces from the 1960s had bidirectional friction bezels, and then from the 1980s onwards, bidirectional friction bezels were updated to 60 click unidirectional bezels. They became the industry standard that we're all familiar with. And then later, from the 1990s onwards, 120 click unidirectional bezels succeeded 60 click, although it is still possible to experience 60 and 120 click bezels on dive pieces. Both are still used, although 120 has now become more popular. This piece still uses a 60 click unidirectional bezel, so the clicks are heavier than a 120 click unidirectional bezel. Nice loud audible clicks. Feels even all the way through the 360 degrees rotation, doesn't get tighter or looser. I like the loud audible clicks. They also feel very solid. You can feel the click spring beneath the solid stainless steel bezel engaging with the 60 grooves in the underside. So it feels very reliable, very robust, very durable. Nice loud audible clicks. Now, it's not as smooth as a 120 click unidirectional bezel as one would expect, but the 60 clicks do work well. Feel solid, feel reliable, feel robust. No lateral side-to-side play whatsoever, no back play whatsoever. So medium resistance. To put it into perspective, it feels heavier than a Pagani designed PD1661 and a Steel Dive SD1953, which you'll all be familiar with. In terms of resistance, it feels lighter than a Seiko 5KX. But it's medium, firm resistance. So, no lateral sides to play, no back play. Let's just check the alignment. One more click. Perfect. The tritium tube, which Luminox call LLT, perfectly aligns with the 12 o'clock index and the 12 o'clock Arabic numerals on the dial. So, bang on the centre of the 60-minute tick on the chapter ring and bang on the centre of the 12 o'clock index, which is a tritium tube. Perfect. Excellent bezel execution. Feels even all the way through the 360 degrees, doesn't get tighter or looser, and also medium resistance, no lateral side-to-side play, no back play. Feels good, sounds good. So bezel is solid 316L grade stainless steel, and they've engraved it and then inlaid the engraving with white minute ticks as per a Rolex mill sub. We've also got engraved Arabic numerals which are infilled with white paint, and then we've got hour markers as well. Quality of the engraving is high definition and sharp, and also the quality of the infilling with paint is also very crisp. So it works very well because the white minute ticks and the Arabic numerals contrast very well with the matte black finish of the IP coating to the bezel. One thing I like about it is the scallops with the knurled teeth in between the scallops, because they're very grippy. This bezel is very easy to grip. Although it's low profile, even wearing a glove, it's not slippy. You can get good purchase with your index finger and thumb. You don't need to grip it very hard. You can really get a good grip of it when you're turning it. So it feels very pleasant to use, and it's very functional, which is good. So let's look at the crown. Solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, and it's got a concentric CNC lathe tool machined domed cap to it, knurled finish to the crown, and it's got a groove machined into it which improves the grip of it. Now, it's sterile. Normally I'd be critical of this because at this price point in the mid-tier one expects to see a signed screw-down crown. For example, the Luminox Shield would be appropriate, but however, Luminox make military issued pieces to the US Navy SEALs, and it's a characteristic of military issued dive pieces that they have sterile crowns. For example, the CWC RN Diver has a sterile crown and always has done, and that's a military issued piece to the SBS regiment of the British military, the Special Boat Service. So this piece is issued to the Navy SEALs and it has a similar sterile crown. So it's often the case with military issued dive pieces that they do not have signed crowns, and I'm not going to be critical of it. Quality of the IP black coating is excellent. It looks nice and durable and robust. It's a nice thick coating. Proportion of the crown is correct. It doesn't stick too proud outside the crown guards. Angular crown guards are correctly profiled and they do give adequate protection. So let's test the screw down crown execution. Silky smooth. The knurling is very good because it's easy to get good purchase with your index finger and thumb. Feels correctly sized. Unscrews with a minimal number of turns, and it is silky smooth. It's sublime screw down crown execution. So this is powered by the Ronda Caliber 715 Li quartz. So pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. If you look at the framed date window in red, you can see the quick set date clicks over with a nice positive click. Feels very light. So to put it into perspective how the clicking quick set feels much lighter than a Seiko NH35A, which you will all be familiar with. Feels similar to a Miyota 2115 quartz. That's the feeling of it. It's got a very light clicking sensation to it. Doesn't have the heavy solid indexing of an NH35A. Feels more similar to a Miyota 8215 or a Miyota 9015. It has that lighter feeling, something you may want to be aware of if you like a heavier quick set complication, but the alignment is correct. Both the single and the double Arabic numerals align correctly in the red framed date window. The Arabic numerals are not too far to the left or the right of the date window, and they're not too high or too low, so both the singles and the doubles align correctly. Nice, crisp, sharp, high definition printing of the black Arabic numerals on the white date wheel, so proportion of the Arabic numerals is correct, and I like the alignment. Feels good, clicks over with a nice solid click. Pulling it out to the second click position hacks the quartz module. So the Ronda Caliber 715 Li quartz has hacking, and the other thing to note is it also has a power saving function, which is very useful. In the hacking position, when you pull it out to position 2, the second click on the crown, that activates the power saving function of the module, and what that means is that will reduce the power consumption of the battery by 70%. So you can save 70% of the battery life simply when you're not using the piece, pulling out the crown to hack the module, and you'll save 70%. But however, this piece, regardless of that, has an incredibly long battery life, 8 years. Just think about that for a moment. Typically quartz modules have a 2 or 3 year battery life. 3 years is excellent. 8 years really is outstanding, and this is something I really like about the Ronda Caliber 715 Li. It is a high grade quartz movement which is made in Switzerland. For example, Luminox could have used a less expensive option such as the Seiko VH31, for example, which has a 3 year battery life, but they haven't. The Ronda 715 Li quartz is excellent. It's a high grade quartz movement. So 70% power saving function is good. So we're now in the time setting position. If you look at the red tip to the second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead, so therefore it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with the Caliber 715 Li quartz. Very light resistance to it because it has 5 joules, it's low friction. Now I want to clarify something. There are 2 versions of the Ronda Caliber 715. They make a Swiss made version, which this uses, and they also make a Swiss parts version. So to clarify, this is the higher grade version. The Swiss made version has 5 joules and it's gold plated. The Swiss parts version, for example, which could be made outside of Switzerland, in Asia for example, that only has 1 joule and it's nickel plated. So gold plated versus nickel plated, 5 joules versus 1 joules. That's the difference between the 2 different 715s, Swiss made, Swiss parts. This one uses the Swiss made version. It's gold plated, 5 joules, higher grade. Feels smooth. No friction whatsoever. Minimal backplay. When you rotate the knurled crown clockwise and anti-clockwise, there's an almost immediate response to the pencil minute hand. There's very slight backplay, which is necessary because if it didn't have some backplay in the meshing of the gearing, when you push back in the crown, it would cause the pencil minute hand to jump out of position. But this doesn't have that problem because the slight backplay in the gearing takes up that slack, so the minute hand doesn't jump. Excellent. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click and that restarts the movement. You can see the contrasting red tip to the second hand begins to tick around the dial once again. So let's test screwing the crown back down. Instant thread pickup. This is a perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. The threads perfectly interface. The pickups is very good. So what I like about this is the quality control, build quality, tolerances and finishing of the threads. Luminox deserve credit because this is silky smooth. Unscrewing it feels silky smooth, screwing it back down feels silky smooth. Hacking works well, quick set date works well, setting the time works well. It's the perfect screw down crown. Cannot be improved upon. Right, so let's look at the strap in detail. So as I've detailed, this piece, the navy seal, comes with 2 straps. You've got the fabric strap, which is Velcro, and also this natural rubber strap. So to clarify, natural rubber and nitrile butadiene rubber are the very best of rubber straps. So natural rubber, in terms of durability, is the most durable. Natural rubber is very long lasting, it's durable, it's robust, it's reliable. It's also UV resistant, chemical resistant and acid resistant. Nitrile butadiene is also very robust and reliable. It's UV resistant, chemical resistant, acid resistant. So it's also a credible alternative. They are the two very best. Natural rubber and also nitrile butadiene. Nitrile butadiene rubber is used in the aeronautical industry and also the automotive industry for rubber seals and rubber gaskets because it is UV and chemical resistant, so it's particularly suitable. Also used on watch straps because of its durability. Natural rubber is stiffer. It's not as soft and supple as FKM fluoro rubber and also silicone rubber, so you'll all be familiar with those. Now, silicone rubber is the softest in terms of how supple it is, but the negative is silicone rubber is not as durable and robust as natural rubber or nitrile butadiene, but it's very comfortable. It's soft and supple. The negative is its durability is not as good. FKM fluoro rubber is a compromise between the two, a compromise between natural rubber and silicone rubber, because FKM fluoro rubber is more soft and supple than natural rubber. It doesn't feel as stiff, therefore it's more comfortable. The negative is it's not as soft and supple as silicone rubber, so often FKM fluoro rubber is used as a compromise between the two. It's more durable than silicone rubber and it's more soft and supple, therefore more comfortable than natural rubber or nitrile butadiene. This one is made from natural rubber. Now, the negative is it's 23mm lug width, and I'm going to be critical. Now, I appreciate this is a large header of the piece at 45mm, so one is going to expect a large strap. For example, a 20mm is going to look undersized on a 45 head of the piece, but however, 20mm and 22 are the industry standard. 23 is a rather odd lug width. In 2025, in the 1970s, 19 was a popular lug width, but in 2025, 18, 20 and 22 are the popular sizes, and on a 45mm one would expect 22. 23 is odd. Now the problem with this is it does limit the options. It does come with two straps. You've got the Velcro fabric strap and this natural rubber strap, so you do get two straps with it, but 23 does limit your options for fitting an alternative strap because it's just not a popular size. 22 is far more popular. It's a shame that Luminox are not using 23, but that's the way it is. The underside of the strap has a textured finish to it, which actually feels very comfortable. Plenty of holes for the double tangs to engage in, which is good. This will fit from a 6-inch wrist size up to a 9-inch wrist size. So even if you have a large 8 or 8.5-inch wrist size and you're wearing a wetsuit, there is enough length on this natural rubber strap to fit up to a 9-inch wrist size or around a wetsuit, which is good. On the other side, it says genuine rubber because it's made from natural rubber rather than FKM fluoro rubber or nitrile butadiene. Genuine rubber means natural rubber. We've also got two large keepers. So the second keeper slides up and down. The first keeper is fixed. It's located on the left-hand side of these two teeth. So there is a top and a lower tooth on the flanks, as you can see. And the tooth profile means the keeper can slip over it, but then it locks, as you can see. This is good attention to detail because it means that the first keeper can move slightly, but the teeth on the top and the lower flanks, they prevent it sliding down the strap. So it keeps the first keeper in position, and then the second keeper can be adjusted up and down fully, depending on your wrist size. So well made. Nice textured finish to it. Quality of the buckle is good. Nice heavy gauge, no sharp edges. Now, in terms of flexibility, how supple it is, I would describe this as it's slightly stiffer than FKM fluoro rubber. Feels similar to nitrile butadiene, which you may be familiar with. It does feel very like natural rubber. It's much stiffer than silicone rubber, but of course the positive is it's going to be very durable. It's a very thick strap. It does taper down in thickness. It's thicker at the spring bar end and then tapers down gradually to the buckle and tang end. And it's got a nice taper to it, both in width and also thickness. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on the end of it. So it's easy to engage the tapered end of it in the buckle and tang. So good quality strap, and natural rubber is very durable. So let's look at the case back. So, as I've detailed, Luminox began supplying the United States Navy SEALs from 1992, and they've continued to supply the US Navy SEALs from 1992 to the present day. This piece is called the Navy SEAL, and therefore it is allowed to bear the Navy SEAL crest or the Navy SEAL emblem on the back of the case back and also the fabric strap, because they do still issue to the US Navy SEALs. As you can see, we have the anchor and American Eagle shield emblem, as well as Luminox on the anchor, and this celebrates the partnership between the US Navy SEALs and Luminox since 1992. The circumference is engraved with the specification and the reference number of the piece. The thing I like about the anchor American Eagle Navy SEAL emblem is that it's forged. It's not engraved. Now, the benefit of this being hydraulically pressed, it's forged, is that it feels smooth. Although it's got a nice 3D embossed effect, it doesn't look like deep engraving. Had they engraved this, it would have sharp edges, and the negative of that is the sharp edges to the engraving would be rough against the wrist. It would feel scratchy. But because this is hydraulically pressed and it's forged, that deletes any sharp edges, and this is what I like about forged case backs versus engraved case backs with embossing, which is 3D effect. So it feels smooth, doesn't feel sharp. There's no rough edges to it. The engraving is high definition and crisp, so it's a good quality forged case back. Solid 316L grade stainless steel, and it provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters. The thing I like about it is, and this is the benefit of this being quartz powered rather than automatic, it's very low profile and flat. As you can see, although it's a large 45mm head of the piece, it is only 13.6 thick, and that's the benefit of this being quartz powered. They've reduced the thickness down to only 13.6, and I like it because although it's large, it's not too thick, and it does enhance the comfort level with a flat case back. The milled slots are deburred and chamfered very well. Quality of the IP coating in black is very good. They've made the correct decision by using IP coating rather than using black PVD coating or DLC coating. IP coating is more durable, but however, I'm going to be critical of it on the case back because often brands will leave the case back bare 316L grade stainless steel in silver because this is an area that is particularly prone to being worn with daily wear and tear because it's in constant contact with the wrist and rubbing against it, and of course eventually what happens is with daily wear and tear, the coating, the IP coating, as well as black PVD coating and DLC coating inevitably wears off and reveals the base and metal beneath it, which is 316L stainless steel. So it's better to leave a case back silver. But however, I appreciate with this Velcro strap, of course, this goes underneath the case back and this acts as a liner, so that prevents the daily wear and tear. So it's not really a concern if you wear it on this Velcro fabric strap because this goes underneath the case back. Your wrist isn't going to be rubbing against it, although the strap will be. But with this rubber strap, of course, your wrist is going to be rubbing against the case back. Now, the case back is very aesthetically pleasing, but I think they should have left it in silver just for the purpose of daily wear and tear. The one negative I want you to be aware of is this rubber strap uses standard spring bars. This I consider to be a negative. They should have used quick release stainless steel spring bars because that would negate the need for using a spring bar tool in order to exchange the rubber strap for the fabric strap. The fabric strap also uses standard spring bars. The problem with a black coated case, regardless of whether it is IP coated, PVD coated or DLC respectively, there's a risk of scuffing or scratching the coating using a spring bar tool because it's hard to get a spring bar tool in between the edge of the lugs internally and the edge of the strap because this is a very thick, stiff strap. So you're going to have to really press it hard with a spring bar tool to compress it to engage with the spring bar. Had they used quick release spring bars with slots in the strap, this would make it much easier because you could press in the lever on the spring bar tool and then remove the strap without risking scuffing and scratching the lugs if you slip with the spring bar tool. It's just far better with a black coated case to use quick release spring bars. I would like to see Luminox update this. It would also make it quicker and easier to exchange this rubber strap for the Velcro strap included, and I think at this stage in 2025, at this price point in the mid-tier, one expects to see quick release stainless steel spring bars as the industry standard. So I'll give you wrist shots and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, as I've detailed, both the Velcro fabric strap and also this rubber strap are long enough to fit my 8-inch wrist. Plenty of length. This will fit up to a 9-inch wrist size. I'm just going to loosen it slightly to show you. I can easily engage an index finger beneath the buckle and tang and strap at all times, and there is still length for me to engage the end of the strap in both of the keepers, the first fixed keeper and the second sliding keeper. So this indicates this will fit up to a 9-inch wrist size, or alternatively it will even fit around a wetsuit if you have a very large wrist, 8 to 8.5 inches. Plenty of length around a wetsuit, and I can still engage my index finger, and there are still plenty of holes for the double tangs in the buckle to engage. So good to see plenty of length, because often it's a case with mid-tier brands. They produce large pieces in 45mm, but the strap is only meant to fit a 6 to 7 inch wrist. But the reality is, the majority of collectors with a 7 to 8 inch wrist are going to want a longer strap, and certainly if they have an 8 inch wrist, and also if they're going to wear this for seawater diving with a wetsuit, they're going to need a longer strap to fit around a wetsuit. So it makes sense to have a longer strap to fit 8 inch plus wrist sizes or around a wetsuit, and I want to give credit to Luminox. They've got it right, because this is long enough for a 9 inch wrist. Now, thing to note is this does wear with wrist presence, as one would expect. 45 is a very large head of the piece. The legibility is excellent as a result. The minute ticks on the bezel are clearly legible. The white handset is clearly legible. The white Arabic numerals are also clearly legible. So functionality, legibility is outstanding. AR coating works very well. And I like the use of a flat sapphire crystal rather than using a box top hat, double dome sapphire crystal, or alternatively a double dome sapphire crystal that would add 2mm of thickness. As I've detailed, the benefit of this piece is, although it's large and does have wrist presence at 45, it's surprisingly low profile at only 13.6, and that's the benefit of being quartz powered versus automatic movement, which would add thickness. For example, if this were NH35A powered, it would be 14mm plus with 200 meters. It's 13.6, which is good. Case back is low profile and flat, so head of the piece fits very snug to the wrist, doesn't have a large gap beneath the tips of the lugs, but however, thing to note is it is a very long case at 52. You'll know from my previous reviews, I consider the sweet spot to be 48, because that fits collectors regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. Now at 52 it's 4mm too long. It is okay for a large wrist of 8 inches plus. Now on my 8 inch wrist you can see 52 does fit, and of course if this is worn on a wetsuit that will make your wrist thicker, and therefore that will fit okay. But I would say to you, if you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, you can immediately rule this out, because it's too large at 45 and the case is too long. If you wear this with a 6 to 7 inch wrist, there's going to be overhang on the tips of the lugs. Even on my 8 inch wrist you can see the tips of the lugs do have some slight overhang. Best suited to collectors with an 8 inch plus wrist size. Even with a 7 to 8 inch wrist, you're going to find this very large. The benefit is, on the rubber strap, it doesn't feel like a top heavy piece. It doesn't feel like a slab of 316L grade stainless steel. It wraps around the wrist very well. Nice curved profile to the lugs. It's surprisingly light. Lack of heft, 122 grams. The 122 grams balances very well because it's well distributed across this very wide 23mm strap. The other thing is the strap doesn't taper, it's straight and parallel. 23 at the lugs, 23 at the buckle and tang. The benefit of it being a thick, wide strap is that it does distribute the weight of the head of the piece. So the thick strap and the heavy buckle and tang, they do balance the head of the piece. So although it is large, with a long lug to lug measurement, it's not too thick at 13.6, and the 23 does look correct. I just think it would be better if it was 22, because visually that would look more aesthetically pleasing. For example, if they made the strap 22 at the lugs tapering down to 18, that would be a nice gradual taper, more aesthetically pleasing. 22 tapering to 18 with a smaller 18mm buckle and tang. 23 straight does look very straight. It's not as aesthetically pleasing, but of course it is very durable and robust because of the thickness and the width. It's going to last. So durability is good. Comfort level has surprised me because although it's not as soft and supple like a silicone rubber strap, it does feel stiffer than an FKM floor rubber strap. It does feel very similar to natural rubber, which it is, or of course nitrile butadiene, which are the more robust straps. It's actually soft enough. Feels smooth, doesn't feel rough, doesn't feel sharp. So when it slides up and down the wrist, it doesn't feel rough, which is good. And the textured finish actually feels very comfortable. So although visually it looks very thick and stiff, it's actually a very comfortable strap. And the piece does feel balanced. I like the lack of heft. Anything below 150 grams is the sweet spot to wear a piece for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. So it's 122. It's well below the 150 sweet spot. Comfortable. Doesn't feel top heavy, but large. That's the thing to note. 13.6 will slip underneath the shirt cuff. 13mm and below is the sweet spot. I often refer to it in my previous reviews because that will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. At 13.6, it's marginal. It's 0.6mm too thick above the sweet spot, but it will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff at 13.6, so it's okay, but very large. 45mm, but one has to appreciate this is a tool watch. Its intended purpose is seawater diving or military issue. It's meant to be worn around a wetsuit, not underneath a shirt cuff of a business shirt. So that's something to bear in mind. For a daily wear piece, I think it's okay at 13.6, only if you have an 8-inch plus wrist size, because it does have a lot of wrist presence. But aesthetically, it does look like a military issue piece. And of course, you could visualize it being used by the US Navy SEALs. So aesthetically pleasing, legibility is good, does have wrist presence, lack of heft is good, comfort level is good, feel good factor is good. Right, so let's do a lume test. Now, it may come as a surprise to you, but I'm not going to charge this piece up as usual, which is what I usually do with my 100 UV LED torch, because the exciter in tritium tubes permanently emits 24 hours a day. So it's radioactive. One doesn't need to charge it up. Tritium is not charged up by ultraviolet light as per luminova and superluminova respectively. So tritium permanently glows in the dark. But what I will do, because I just want to show you the difference in colour tone, we have two different colour tritium tubes used on the piece. So to clarify, if you look closely at the bezel, I'm not going to say lume pip because this doesn't have one, it has a tritium tube as an alternative to a lume pip. You can see the tritium tube on the bezel is glowing in orange, and that matches the minute hand. The pencil minute hand also glows in orange. So we've got two different colour tritium tubes, which Luminox call LLT for Luminox Light Technology. We've got 16 tritium tubes in total, and there's an orange tube on the bezel, as you can see. It's glowing, and then at the 12 o'clock index, or above the 12 o'clock Arabic numerals, we've also got an orange tritium tube which is glowing well, and then on the pencil minute hand we've got an orange tritium tube. The other tritium tubes on the hour hand, the second hand, and the other indices, they're all green. Now subjectively I'm going to be critical of this because I prefer watches just to use one colour of lume or superluminova or tritium tubes on the dial, hands and the bezel. So for example, I like to see C3 superluminova in green throughout, or alternatively blue BGW9 throughout. What I don't like to see is two different colours used. Now some brands do it. For example, Omega do it on the Seamaster, and they also do it on the Planet Ocean, and therefore some collectors subjectively like that. They like, for example, the minute and the hour hands have different colour superluminova on. I personally prefer to see the same used throughout. So as you can see, when I shine the UV torch, it makes the exciter emit, but you don't need to charge it up. The tritium tubes are permanently emitting 24 hours a day. Now the thing to note is, with LLT, or Luminox Light Technology, or tritium tubes, they have a 25-year life. So this watch will continue to glow 24 hours a day permanently without being charged with UV light, because tritium isn't charged by UV light, for 25 years straight. And that is very high performance. Now the negative is, of course, tritium is radioactive and it does degrade exponentially with time. Tritium was used in the 1960s. It succeeded radium, which was more radioactive, and tritium was less radioactive. And then what happened was tritium was used from the 1960s through the 1970s to the 1980s, and then in the 1990s tritium was discontinued due to its radioactivity, and it was succeeded by luminova. And then in the late 1990s and early 2000s, superluminova succeeded luminova, because it doesn't degrade or patina with time as per tritium, and therefore it's longer lasting, and the performance is excellent. So now C3 and BGW9 are the industry standards for superluminova that you're all familiar with, but tritium tubes are an alternative because they use tritium which is encapsulated in tubes. Therefore it prevents the radioactivity escaping, but one still gets the potency of it, because you can see tritium performs very well. It's very bright. The benefit is tritium doesn't need to be charged up with UV light as per luminova or superluminova. It permanently emits due to its radioactivity. So you can see the performance there. I think this would look better if it just used one colour tone, either green tritium tubes, or alternatively orange throughout, because the orange is very aesthetically pleasing. The green is also very aesthetically pleasing. Of the two, I prefer the green, but I think using orange on the lume pip and then the 12 o'clock index is good, because that gives good orientation for the dive bezel. The minute hand also makes sense, because you're going to be registering the orange minute hand with the bezel, so that works very well. But the other indices are all green, and the hour hand and the second hand are green. So very aesthetically pleasing. Tritium tubes are a good alternative to Super Lume Nova. Something different. One doesn't often see tritium used. This has 16 in total. We've got 12 on the dial, 3 on the hands, and then we've got 1 instead of the Lume Pip, as you can see. So it works very well. Now, as you can see, when I turn out the lights, the camera struggles to autofocus on it, because unlike Super Lume Nova, which I can charge up using 100 UV LEDs, tritium isn't charged by UV lights. It constantly emits. So, as you can see, it doesn't make any difference if you add UV light to it or not. But by shining it at an oblique angle, it does cause the exciter to emit, as you can see. So, very aesthetically pleasing. Subjectively, I prefer just one colour, but that's the way it is. Luminox prefer to use 2. And of course, presumably the US Navy SEALs prefer it because these watches have been in service since 1992 and they are developed in conjunction with the US Navy SEALs, so they tell Luminox what they prefer and then Luminox make it in their specification. So lastly, I will discuss the movement used. Now, this is powered by the Ronda Caliber 715 Li quartz, which is Swiss made. It's excellent. So to put this into perspective, the 515 is a basic grade of Ronda Caliber quartz. The 715 is a higher grade. So 715 is a level above the 515. There are 2 versions, as I've detailed. 2 versions of the 715 Li. Swiss made and Swiss parts. So for example, the 2 differences in the specifications are as follows. The Swiss made version that this uses has 5 joules. The Swiss parts version has 1 joule. The Swiss made version is gold plated. The Swiss parts version is nickel plated. So you can clearly see the Swiss made version is higher grade. I'm pleased to see that Luminox did not opt for the low cost version in order to lower production costs and maximise profit margin per piece. They could have used the Swiss parts version, which is nickel plated with 1 joule. They didn't. This uses the gold plated version, which is 5 joules. So in terms of specification, it has hacking, 70% power saving function. So as I've explained, when you pull out the crown fully to the second click position and hack the module, that engages or starts the power saving function. That will reduce the power consumption by 70%. It will extend the battery life, which is good. So for example, if you wear this piece in rotation as part of a collection and you don't wear it daily, you can save 70% of the battery life simply by pulling out the crown fully and hacking it, which is good. So this is the Swiss made version, 8-year battery life. Just think about that for a moment. Usually quartz movements only have a 2 or 3 year battery life. So to put this into perspective, a Seiko VH31, which you'll all be familiar with, has a 3-year battery life, which is good. This has an incredible 8-year battery life. Potentially you could buy this piece and wear it daily for 8 years before needing to change the battery. It's outstanding battery life. The accuracy is -10 to +20 seconds per month. It is incredibly accurate. Just think about that for a moment again. That's not that's not -10 to +20 per day or per week. That is per month. Better than ±1 second per day accuracy. Better than ±30 seconds per month. -10 to +20 is incredible accuracy. To put that into perspective, it's not as accurate as a Grand Seiko quartz, as one would expect. But however, it's a level above quartz movements such as the Seiko VH31, which you'll be aware of, and the Miyota 2115, which you'll also be aware of. They have stated accuracy of ±30 seconds per month, which is good. -10 to +20 is a level above in accuracy. So 8-year battery life, -10 to +20 per month, better than 1 second per day accuracy. This one is running at 0 seconds per day, ±0, perfect accuracy, and it will maintain that for the full 8 years. So it's excellent. I like everything about it, and I like the fact when you pull out the crown fully to the second click position, it activates the power saving function. You can save 70% of that 8-year battery life and even extend it to 9 or 10 years if you wear it in rotation. No negatives to the 715 Li whatsoever. Gold plated, 5 joules. It's a level above the Swiss parts version, which is made in Asia. That has 1 joule and it's nickel plated as a cost cutting measure. Gold plated is excellent, finishing is excellent. 5 joules is a level above the 1 joule version. Correct choice at this price point. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet two criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So, mid-tier piece, price point is €695 respectively. I'm going to declare it good quality and I'm going to declare it okay value at €695. The build quality is excellent, but I can't say it's excellent because it faces stiff competition from other mid-tier brands and other micro brands at the €695 price point. They are offering pieces on bracelets and straps at this price point. They're also offering pieces with automatic movements which are higher grade, such as the SW200-1 and the ETA 2824-2. Or alternatively, the Miyota 9015 and 9039, which are premium Miyota calibers at the €695 price point. Yes, the Miyota 715 Li is a high-grade quartz movement, but it's quartz. It's not the same as an SW200-1 or alternatively a 9015 or 9039 automatic. Also, this piece doesn't come on a bracelet. So one can't say excellent quality and excellent value because they are cost-cutting measures. Now I appreciate this is a military issued piece. The US Navy SEALs use Luminox watches. They don't wear their pieces on bracelets, and of course using a stainless steel bracelet with IP black coating wouldn't make sense because it's going to be scuffed and scratched when it's military issued. Makes far more sense to use a Velcro fabric strap and as an alternative a natural rubber strap because these are suitable to be worn around wetsuits and of course they're robust. Doesn't matter about being scuffed and scratched with daily wear as per a black coated bracelet. So one has to factor that in. But €695, I would say good quality but not excellent. Now the other thing is value. Again, €695 is expensive. Now one has to appreciate Luminox does have brand heritage. It is Swiss made, it's not made in China. They've been making watches since 1989, so it does have that pedigree, it does have that brand heritage, and of course they have been making watches, issuing them to the US Navy SEALs since 1992. So one does have that military issued aspect to the brand and the brand heritage to consider. It does add value to it. Also it's Swiss made with a Swiss made Ronda caliber. So all of these things add value. So I would say okay value because other micro brands are offering automatic powered pieces powered by the SW200-1 and also the 9015 at a similar price point with bracelets and straps. That's something to bear in mind. So I'm going to declare it good quality and I'm going to declare it okay value at €695. Hope you've enjoyed my review of the Luminox Navy SEAL reference XS.4231.SET. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.